Hey, welcome to the Professor of Perseverance podcast. I'm Dr. James Purdue, the Professor of Perseverance himself. And we have a guest again today. I mean, why would we not have a guest? I mean, I'm not doing this just to be listening to me all day long. Let's get over here and let's get the story going. We got Fitz Koehler, is a prominent, compelling fitness expert. And she's here to share her journey, her story of her cancer. And as we're going to get Fitz, come on in, Fitz.
Hey there, how are ya?
Hey, thank you for being here and sharing your journey and helping, inspiring, encouraging, motivating someone out there that needs some help.
Well, that's the game plan and play it forward, right? Or pay it forward.
There, we go. Pay it forward, let it come back to you somehow, some
Yeah.
way. And let me go ahead and put your book up here on the screen.
hmm
And here it is, My Noisy Cancer Comeback by Fitz Koehler. So, My Noisy Cancer Comeback. All right, Fitz, again, thank you for being here. And let's dive on in here. Let's get going because this podcast, it's you. You. I'm just here to have fun and get inspired and fired up and get me through today as well.
Sure, sure. So what do you want to know?
Well, how did you come across your cancer? How, I mean, what type of cancer? How did you know? Self exam, something
Yeah.
just wasn't feeling right. The doctor says, "Hey, let's go run more tests." How did
Yeah.
you get diagnosed, and how did you find it?
So after annual and self-exams always being a part of my professional platform as a fitness expert for decades, in December of 2018, I went in and had a clean mammogram, walked out with a clean bill of health, and reminded my followers to do the same, go get their check. Less than 7 weeks later at a hotel bathroom at a race weekend, I did this. I just came out of the shower and I rubbed my underboob because I had an itch and I found it. It felt like there was a bean in my breast and it shouldn't have been there. And so, pivot point, I didn't call my mom and cry. I didn't whine to my friends. I didn't Google it. I picked up the phone instantly and I made the phone call, and I was taking it seriously, and so was my physician. So, within a few days, I had that first appointment. A few days after, a new mammogram and an ultrasound where we saw a sizy tumor in my breast with several hard swollen lymph nodes, which meant it had already spread. And then I had a quick biopsy, and within 2 weeks, I started chemo for breast cancer. And I ended up with 21 rounds every 3 weeks of pretty brutal chemo treatments. I had 33 rounds of radiation, several surgeries, and I am cancer free. So it was an absolute nightmare. You know, some people, well, I think anyone who survives any sort of cancer is a very lucky person. So I'll start there. Some people have lesser treatment than others. You know, mine was pretty mean, but I was pretty determined from the get-go that I wasn't giving up my career nor time with my kids. And as naive as that might have sounded at the start, I was able to hold to it because my physical health going into cancer care was a step up. No matter how sick I got, I still kind of had a little advantage over somebody else who didn't take good care of themselves. And then also my mental strength. I mean, I always knew I was stubborn. You know, we joke that I'm a pain in the ass. People, they call me the PETA, the pain in the ass. I'm
There
bossy,
you go.
and I get people to do what they need to do to make themselves better. I was my own best advocate, and that really went a long way because instead of my career crumbling under the turmoil of cancer, I was able to boost my career. And, you know, I fought tooth and nail to travel the country while sick as a dog and bald and gray and all of those things. But I wanted it badly enough. And it really, I think I benefited from my stubbornness and my perseverance.
Perseverance. You know, since you mentioned perseverance, that's in my title there,
Yeah.
Professor of Perseverance. So that's awesome. So when we can throw that word around, one thing here, I interviewed someone just yesterday, Donna Wells, and her book title, the subtitle was being an advocate for your own health care.
Yeah.
So here you are being an advocate for your own health care, and I would be. I mean, what you did was obviously the right thing, but I wonder how many people out there would go, well, what's this? I just had a mammogram 7 weeks earlier and nothing showed up. What's, and then it maybe ignore it. Hey,
Yeah.
they said it was a health. I mean, I was
Uh-huh.
cured, not cured, but clean. Nothing there.
Well, this is why I go there every time when I talk about my story, is I point out the fact that I did not whine to my girlfriends or cry to my mom or waste my time on Google, because, our health is our own responsibility. Sometimes people blame their weight gain. Well, my spouse keeps bringing in food. Well, P.S., you're responsible for what you insert into your mouth. You're the only one. When your body has a red flag, whether it's a stabbing chest pain or a brown spot on your arm or a lump in your breast, you're responsible for bringing your equipment into your doctor to check it out. If the red light goes off in your car, you take it to a mechanic. And too many people just ignore the crap that goes on with their own health. And they think, like an ostrich, if I put my head in the sand, it'll go away. And the reality is, if I had waited until my follow-up mammogram the next year, you would be talking about me instead of to me. You would have heard of the sad case of this fitness expert who did almost everything right, who just died of breast cancer. So
For not following her own advice.
not following her own advice. That's right. And so I know what I'm expert in. I'm expert in getting people to exercise wisely and eat wisely and sleep often and remove the cranky people. There's a bunch of stuff I'm good at. I stay in my lane. And when something comes up that seems like a medical issue, I do not play doctor with my own health. I get my butt up and I go in and I pay the copay, the deductible, whatever it is. My health is worth it.
Oh, yes, it is. And I'm a full disclosure that, yes, we need to, we need to know our health
Yes.
better than the doctor does, so we know when something's right or wrong, then we can go explain it.
Well, it's interesting.
I was gonna say there's too many people that go, "Oh, thank you, doc, for telling me." No, you should know that stuff before going in.
Right. And here's the deal: is doctors, they don't creep into your house in the middle of the night and break into your room and lift up the sheets and crawl in with a flashlight to look around. You got to bring your butt into the doctor's office. So those annual exams of every sort, skin, vision, pap, colon, prostate, breast, all of it matters. And then again, with those red lights, red flags, you got to bring it in. The doctors, they don't come to you. You have to bring your body to them every single time.
And we have in Ada Pat. Thank you for coming again. Shout out to you, not just to me, and to also Fitz. So, and Miss Southern Belle, welcome in, Miss Southern Belle, coming in and get some fired up motivation here from Fitz on her journey. All right, so now then, obviously your doctor and everything took everything serious, like you did, and so you said there was quite a bit of treatments that went on, and about how long of a stint for everything before beginning A to when Z finally ended up?
So between finding my lump and finishing treatment, it was 16 months. And it was a whirlwind, and it's interesting. Not only do you have the crisis of having cancer and then your scheduled treatments, but it was as though my life got thrown into spin cycle. I could equate it to the same sort of experience as if I'd been hit by a bus out on the road. All of a sudden you go from your life is yours to all of a sudden you spend most of your time at this doctor, that doctor, scans and biopsies and surgeries. And, I was so sick from chemo that I wasn't there just every 3 weeks. I had to go every single weekday for IV fluids just to keep me functioning. It was tricky. It was chaotic and hard and scary. And, it definitely challenged every part of me.
The big C word, man, people freak out real quick when they hear that. And so, now, not to get too personal and whatnot, I have to get, well, I was going to say, did you have to get a mastectomy? Was everything taken care of? Because I've known 2 other women and they found lumps and they just decided just to go have a mastectomy and get everything done with. And that was their cure, basically. They just went on and did that.
Yeah.
Soon as they found out, they said, no, I'm not going to deal with it. Just go ahead and just remove.
So fortunately, I'm a science girl. I have a long history within the life sciences, health sciences, and I've actually been trained to support breast cancer patients through their recovery as a fitness professional. But a full mastectomy isn't really a one-stop shop for most people. I mean, if you need chemo, you need chemo. The second it goes from your breast to even a lymph node, even without it hitting an organ, chemo is pretty much the protocol required, mastectomy or not. Same goes with radiation. And so while some people, they get off with just a little bit of surgery, a full mastectomy is not a little surgery. It's a massive surgery. And in many cases, it does not increase the outcome. It does not improve your outcome. So for me, I had a lumpectomy, which means they took maybe a golf ball size amount of tissue out of my left breast. It's a little uneven, but it's good enough for me. But if I would have had 2 healthy breasts amputated, there was no benefit for me. That would not have increased my lifespan or my chances of survival. And so I decided not to go through that massive surgery. So, I completely respect any woman's decision she makes for her own body, but the data is there. In many cases, full mastectomy does not increase chances of survival over lumpectomy. So I didn't have to, and I didn't do that. They gave me the worst, the meanest type of chemo, and that wasn't a lot of fun. I got the full dose of radiation, and then thankfully with surgery, I was able to skate by. I had just that lumpectomy, and they took 11 lymph nodes. And fortunately, because I'm so fit, I haven't had issues with lymphedema. But the more lymph nodes they take, the more likely you are to have pretty significant swelling within your arm, which becomes a real issue for some women. And the fitter you are, the better your chances are of avoiding that. So I feel very grateful for that.
Got another friend, Jan. She's not in today, so she usually pops in with us. And she went through, one of the other female uterus cancer, and went through that. And she talked about she had to do 28 days of shots after all of her chemo or whatever, and a full hysterectomy, I think. And but she went in already, and I don't know. I'm not jumping in on people on how spiritual you are or religious or whatnot. But she went in, going in, thanking God that he's already took care of it, and the doctor's just there to clean up everything. And so she went in with a positive attitude with all other patients when she was taking her chemo and stuff, and just trying to keep them happy and positive. And people looked at her like she was a freak. You got this cancer. How can you be so positive? So same thing here with your mindset and everything. It looks like sounds like you're being a very positive woman. How positive were you going through this?
Well, I was. So I can tell you from the get-go, the second I saw the swollen lymph nodes, I thought, oh my God, I'm definitely dying. And I am one of the most positive people in the world. But, I just felt like I make too good of a perfect tragic tale. I had the perfect career. I took, there's nothing about my life that's perfect from the get-go. But what people would say is, oh, she was a perfect health with the perfect family and the perfect career, and then she died this perfectly tragic death. So it took a little while for the doctors convinced me they were going to save me. And then once I got through that, really what I had to lean on was my lifetime of using perspective. I thought 3 things. I thought, well, I'm so fortunate I'm not a little kid going through cancer care, which would be so terrible. It's not my kid going through cancer care, which would be the worst. And last but not least, fortunately for me, it wasn't one of the more typically lethal types of cancer. So I decided not to have any pity parties. I know the decision to continue to pursue time with my children and my career. Again, I was on airplanes every single weekend, bouncing around the country, hosting 500,000 people. But that really benefited me. As hard as the work was, as much as I physically deteriorated because of it, it kept my spirits really high. And I also made the decision not to be a sad sap. I figured I wouldn't get any extra points for being the saddest girl in the room. So even though I was super sick and suffering, if somebody said something funny, I would take the opportunity to laugh. And I truly believe in, mental strength. And that was a big deal for me. I did hit despair. I know what that feels like. And even though I talk a big game about perspective and passion and positivity, and I truly mean those things, and I walk that walk, it doesn't mean I didn't sob every single day. There were, I would say, every single day in my car or in my bathroom alone, because cancer is so stressful. No matter what, it's just so unbearably stressful. And so I did a lot of crying. And I remember when I was a kid, my mom used to yell at me for crying. So if I broke up with a boy and I cried, she was
There's
like,
no crying in baseball.
kind of. And I would just say, Mom, my tears will dry. Just let me get it out. I know it's a stress relief. And so I tried to keep that to myself so I didn't stress out my kids or, just anyone. It was hard. It was very hard. And towards my 6th round of chemo, which was the meanest haul within my chemo regimen, I was a mess. I remember going into my doctor shaking, and I was gray and bald, and I understood despair. I understood what it would be like to discontinue treatment. So I thought, this is why people say no more, because they feel like this. If I knew that I was never going to feel any better than I did at that moment, I would also be one of those people to say no more treatment for me. I'll just die peacefully, right? But I remember going to my doctor, and he was concerned about me. He's like, Fitz, you've done so great. I said, I have not done great. Every millimeter of my body is being destroyed, and I feel it. I'm stressed and I'm crying. He said, this is the deal. He said, you, because of your health and fitness coming into this, he said, you traveled the country having more adventure than most healthy adults have in a lifetime. If you weren't so healthy coming in, he goes, Fitz, I threw the book at you. I gave you our meanest combination of chemo. In fact, he used the word toxic, our most toxic combination. He said, if you weren't so healthy and strong going in with such a good mindset, you would have been hospitalized for a month, not just overnight. You would be hospitalized. You would have had a feeding tube. He said, so I know you've suffered, but you've done great. And so then I kind of understood, because I kept thinking, why is he saying I've done great? Everything has gone wrong. But yeah, so taking care of yourself on the inside, the outside, up in here, invaluable, because life is hard, right? Life is not a walk in the park for anybody. Everyone puts their foot in it at some point.
Before we can smell the roses, we've got to smell the manure, the fertilizer. And so, we've got to go through some bad to get to the good.
That's
and so he knew medically that he was going to be tearing you down. And maybe the doctors need to be more open. You're going to feel like shit. You're going to feel like, but I promise you, you're going to be better at the end.
So this is interesting. I mean, and I love my doctor. I call him the wizard. And in the pages of this book, so when I got diagnosed, and I had 2 feet long of hair, I didn't want to tell anybody. I'm actually a private person. I put all my work on display publicly, but I keep to my private life to myself. And I would have preferred not tell anybody I had cancer, but I knew I was going to be bald, and I wasn't going to be a wig wearer. So I thought, okay, I'm going to have to let them know. But I let people know. I made this little video. It's actually very cute. Like, I look back and think how naive I was. If you go on Fitness on Facebook or fitness.com, you'll see this video called I Have Breast Cancer. And there I am sitting at this table telling everyone, listen, I got breast cancer, but I'm going to be fine. I'm going to look weird. I'm going to feel kind of bad, but I'll accept zero pity from anybody. You can root for me, and I'm going to show up to work as expected. So, nothing changes. And then all of a sudden, everything changed, although I held to my commitment. But this is the thing. When I went in for my breast cancer 101 little roundup from the PA, the doctor's PA and she told me all these things that might happen, but they were kind of big picture. You may have a double mastectomy. You may have a hysterectomy, which I didn't have either of those things. You may have this or that. But what she didn't get into was the gory details. And this is one of the reasons I wrote the book, is because I find nobody tells you the gory details. And I'll give a few examples. At some point I started getting these ridges on my fingernails. I thought, that's weird. And apparently the ridges on your fingernails coordinate with each round of chemo, much like a ring of a tree represents a year of life. So these ridges went to, all of a sudden I touched my face, and then I smelled something. My fingernails were rotting off while still on my hands. And then the next step was for them to start just ripping off. If I touched anything, I'd open a drawer, rip. My toenails ripped off. My eyes changed colors. And then my vision went bad. I was in an airport, Atlanta airport, and I could basically not find my gate because I went from grown up with perfect vision to I can't see crap. I mean, you name it, everything kind of hit the fan. Everything about me went weird. And so I filled the pages with that stuff because, all of these other cancer patients, when I talk to them, they would also say, nobody ever told me this. Nobody ever told me this. So within the book, I tell it, but I think I tell it in a funny way because cancer can be funny. You know how minorities can pick on themselves, Black people can pick on Black people, women can pick on women, cancer patients can pick on cancer. And so that's my little minority group now. And I think cancer, although it was horrible and difficult, it was also semi-hilarious. And that's part of why the book is so successful right now. People are using it as a handbook for newly diagnosed patients or caregivers. And it was a crazy, ridiculous, absurd year and a half of my life. And I still can't believe I went through it.
Well, I'm glad you went through it for you to be here so you can help other people in the future. And I'm going to step out just for a second here to tell you that my mother went through lung cancer. And she tells her doctor he saved her life. But here's the sad thing. He had to save her life by telling her, I'm not going to see you as a patient anymore. Because he sent a letter to her house. It's time for you to have your physical. We hadn't seen you in a while. Come on, set up an appointment. Come in. Well, 2 months later, she didn't set one up. So he sent a second letter. This is a second attempt to get you. You need to come in for a physical. Hadn't been in for a while. So 2 months later, still she did. So third one, well, you're not going to follow your physician's advice that I'll need to discontinue being your physician. And so we'll have to just stop this. And then she's mumbling, cussing, everything. She goes and get her physical. And during the physical, they find lung cancer. If she would have threw that letter in the trash can for the third time, she wouldn't be here 20 years later. But what got me going, thinking of that is when you talked about your fingernails, from which the chemo she took did the exact same thing with her fingernails, and they were told that you may be taking a shower and all of a sudden one of them just pop on off, and don't worry about it. That's the way it is. And same thing. Yeah. So she did get a little of what to expect, but I'm sure she didn't get everything like you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, it just the side effects were incredible, and all I kept thinking is, oh my God, I'm in the twilight zone. How on God's earth is this happening to me? This is so weird. And there was not one iota of my body that went unscathed. And one of my race weekends, so as a race announcer, I travel to these massive running events, marathons, 5Ks, you name it. But my smallest event is 2,500 people. My largest has about 30,000. So as you can imagine, the scope is pretty big. And most of mine are monsters. And I show up, I leave Florida and I fly to California. I have a massive marathon weekend, which is a half marathon, a 5K, kids races, you name it. Tons of talking, 20 something hours on a microphone. And then a handful of days later, I got to fly to Arkansas for another race series. And then the next day I fly to Detroit. So it's 3 huge race events within 10-day period. Well, I flew out of Florida on Friday after having chemo Monday. And I forget what the word it is, but there's a word that means basically you're at the hard part of your chemo. And for me, it was 4 days out. So I'm at the hardest part of my chemo. I go to California, Orange County. They're giving me IV fluids over in Orange County to keep me upright. I do all this work. And then I wake up Monday morning after this event and I'm mute. No sound whatsoever. And that's because the chemo is destroying all of your rapidly replaceable cells, which is your eyes, I'm sorry, not your eyes, your hair, and then everything in your digestive system from your mouth on the way on out. And that's why people complain of sore throat and mouth sores and tummy issues and so forth. So now I got this chemo in there destroying my pink part of my digestive system, and then I tax it, and now I'm mute, and I have to figure out how to get a voice back before Thursday, before I arrive in Little Rock, to be the loudest person in the Little Rock. It was just one thing after another. And I tell that tale, but we went through a million paces, and finally, the morning I was about an hour before I was supposed to get on the microphone in Little Rock, I said, "Hello," and then this sound came out. It was a very unpleasant sound, but it was sound, and I was able to pull it off. But yeah, and here's the other thing is I never bailed on me when I went mute and it wasn't even laryngitis, it was just mute. I never thought I wouldn't get my voice back in time. I never doubted it. And that's the other great thing is I don't think I'm the most beautiful girl or the funniest girl or the smartest girl or any of those things, but I have 100% faith in me. And when I want something to happen, I make it happen. And I figured out a way to get my voice back. And so I wish more people would have faith in themselves because, everybody else something could happen to them. It could just be you standing alone there figuring it out. And I always figure it out. I'm not the best. I'm not perfect at anything, but I can rely on me. And I think that's precious, right? That's valuable.
Very valuable. And it goes back to the point you said, people need to have faith in themselves. I mean, because if you don't believe in yourself, how can you expect anybody else to believe into you as well?
Yeah.
So, what I was going to bring up. Oh, okay. Now, being so positive and everything like that, and you said you got to some despair. Did you ever get to the where you felt like you may have hit some rock bottom, got a depression?
So yeah, definitely. I remember I flew home from Denver, which was another, a wonderful event and a really trying, exhausting experience for me where everything was going wrong. I was sick and I got a UTI and I had this headache and I had no eyelashes. And then I flew to Orlando to, instead of coming straight home to Gainesville, I flew to Orlando to watch my daughter compete in a cheerleading competition. And we stayed at a friend's house and I was so sick and I just, your stomach's kind of vulnerable with chemo and I needed something bland like soup. And instead they made a super spicy chicken dish. I just thought I can't eat this. So instead of sitting to have dinner with everybody, I just said, I have to go to bed. And then, and I'm a floor sleeper. Like, I don't know why when we feel sick, it feels better to be on the floor than in a luxurious bed. But I started out the night on the bed, or on the floor, which tells you how bad it was. But I went into their kitchen cabinet around 2 a.m. My stomach was just killing me. I guess it was just starving and the room was spinning. So I crawl out and it's a big house and I go into their cupboards and all I'm looking for is a cracker. Right? Because doesn't everybody have crackers? And the crackers are the solution for a miserable stomach, but they're on some sort of health kick. So they've got nothing in the house other than vegetables. It's just vegetables, and sauces. And I'm desperately thinking, oh my God, I just need a cracker. And finally I stumble across this miniature chocolate donut. And that's it. That's what I need. So I grab the donut and I go back into the guest suite and I lie down on the floor. I'm pretty sure I had a bite of it. But I woke up and I had chocolate smeared all over my head, all over my arm. It was one little donut, but it was everywhere. And I remember getting up, just everything felt bad. It's hard to describe how sick I was, but I get up to go to my daughter's and I'm looking in this beautiful bathroom, all these mirrors, and there I am just bald and lashless and gray and chocolate smeared everywhere. And I just thought, like, is this what my life has boiled down to? This is the worst. It was so pathetic. And I just thought, oh, and that's kind of where I was, where I thought this is where I would not continue treatment. Like if they didn't guarantee me a cure, I would have cut that stuff out right there. And so I got myself cleaned up and I showed up at the arena for my daughter and, she came bouncing over, hey mom, and I put on a phony smile for her. And no matter how bad I felt, I can tell you that I was genuinely happy to be in that arena. And one of the other real strong lessons I learned at that point is, how when people are sick or especially cancer patients, everyone's like, no, stay at home. You don't have to come. If I were terminal, I would hope that people wouldn't try to just keep me at home. Even though I felt terrible, I was so happy to be able to watch my daughter and her friends do their thing. And so that really resonated. It resonated two things. The thing that if I wasn't going to get better, I would stop treatment. but also that even if I wasn't getting better, I was so happy to just still be a part of her life, experiencing that. So I hope if you have somebody in your life who is terminal in any scenario, allow them to live out their days. There's a thing that we control what we can. I couldn't control the fact that I had chemo or cancer. You can't control it if you're born with a defect or you get hit by a bus, but you can control the things you do, the way you respond, and the choices you make moving forward. And so, encourage people to live no matter what time they have left. Encourage people to live. I think every day does count.
Live as if you're living, or live to die. So, there's two ways to look at that. Now, when I'm getting a big portion of you, I'm not sure how much of an athlete you were as a child growing up. I'm assuming you were. And to me, you're talking about, having this faith and believing in yourself when you want something. I have to go out and figure out what it is so I can accomplish it, get what I want. To me, it sounds like you have what I called, what I had. I'm a spinal cord injury. I got my neck broke playing football. And so I had the mentality when I was an athlete that I was invincible. And to me, it sounds like you had this invincibility as well to again to make sure this is what I need to do to be successful. This is what I need to do to get my voice back. This is what I need to do to move forward. This is what I need to do. And because you're using that invincibility of not giving up and cowering down, I think is a great trait to have.
Yeah, thank you. And so I definitely do think sports count. And I went from being a kid who got cut from every team in high school. I made a couple of teams, but really I got cut a lot. I was mediocre. My siblings were extraordinary athletes, and I kept getting cut. And then when I was in college, I started teaching fitness very young, and that I was very good at. And so that felt really good that I could be the leader of a fitness activity, even starting at 14. But when I was about 20, I started competitively kickboxing. And one of the reasons I chose that sport is because I was guaranteed a spot in the ring. And so I remember as a kid when I got, even if I was on a team, I was a bench rider, and I showed up at every practice. I tried the hardest, and sometimes I was never rewarded with game time. Whereas the girls who had natural ability would skip practice, show up and play the whole time. And I liked kickboxing because I thought it would be really fun, but I liked the fact that I was guaranteed a spot in the ring. Even if I was going to go get my block knocked off, I was excited to play. I was guaranteed playtime. I liked the independence of it. And I was pretty decent at it, and I really enjoyed it. But I loved that I would earn a spot. And, all those times as a kid where I was told, no, you can't be on this team. No, you can't be in this club. No, we're not choosing you to be senator within the student body or whatever. All of those no's added up to this really fiery personality where I wanted what I wanted and I was going to get it. And that's why I built my own business, because I wasn't going to rely on anybody for my professional success. And, I used to still get a lot of no's early in my career. Almost nobody tells me no now professionally. It's a very rare occasion. On occasion, someone will say, I can't afford that. And that's fair. But almost nobody tells me, no, we don't want you. And if they tell me no, I usually find my way around it. I've taken all that rejection and I bottled it up, and now I use it for good. Some people take their power and use it for evil. I take mine and I use it for good, but I'm a very aggressive person now. I just go for it fearlessly. And as you know, there's bigger things to fear than rejection.
I I still hear no. So I still hear no. But for me, I still hear no. But I use that as a motivational tool to again improve myself and then get the yes on the next one.
Yeah.
So hey, Pieta Pratt's giving a virtual hug. I hope it's to me. I mean, to give it to her, I understand as well. But I hope we're sharing this virtual hug for all of us. So, all right, thank you. All right, now, so go ahead and let's. This is an amazing story. I just love in interviewing people that are just so positive. I mean, I'd hate to think that I'm doing someone in the interview and they're going, "Well, yeah, I went through this cancer and yeah, I feel like crap the whole time." Well, yeah, I did win and get through it. But yeah, and I want to help someone else too. Okay, help us. so,
Right.
but I'm just so glad that you. I'm sorry you went through it. I'm so glad that you were able to get through it, make you a stronger individual. Again, I think we go through. I think we go through some trials and tribulations that is to prove how strong we really are. Because sometimes we want to give up too early. We don't know what to do, and I've had so many people with me in the wheelchair go, "I couldn't do what you're doing." Well, you don't know that you're not in a wheelchair.
Right.
So for you,
The options.
yeah, yeah. Well, I would tell them, I had two options. After I had my injury, I could lay in bed, have someone water me like a vegetable, feed me what they want to feed me, and then I will watch the TV shows they're watching because I couldn't grab the remote out of their hand. Or I could take the hard route in life and go do the best I can.
Yeah. Good for you. Excellent choice. And all by choice, because you did have the choice to be able to just lie there and, like you said, be a vegetable. And that just doesn't seem like it's within your character to do that.
So we don't have the name perseverance for a reason up here. So, and I'm glad it's been as a trait in your life as well.
So,
So
so you may, this may resonate with you. One of the things, social media has done a lot of good, and then it's done a lot of weird and definitely some bad. But I have so many people on my feed every day that say things like, "I sprained my ankle, pray for me." And I just think, are you kidding? You're going to eat up the prayers on your sprained ankle? Get a grip. And you don't need to tell everybody every time you skin your knee, scrape your arm, fall down.
I, I,
Begging for prayers over sprained ankles.
it's a funny story now, but I probably showed my butt in Walmart one day, and there was these teenagers, I say teenagers, 21, 23 years old, and one of them's in one of those electric buggies riding around. And I wouldn't have questioned him, except his buddies were videotaping him for Facebook and they're laughing and making fun. And so I know he's just goofing around. He's taking this away from a senior citizen, somebody that's really disabled. And so I basically went off on him in Walmart. And he told me, "I have a sprung ankle from skateboarding." I go, "That's your disability?" I said, "I would happily trade a broken neck for a sprung ankle."
Right.
And I showed my butt, I'm sure, on that one day. But yeah, of course, fortunately, a lot of the people at the store know me, so they got their manager down there. And yeah, but yeah, if they wouldn't videotape it and laugh and make fun, I wouldn't have questioned it. But
Right.
yeah, like you said, a sprung ankle, and I don't know if we really had one. That to me, that was just.
And if you couldn't walk, fine, but don't be a jerk about your situation. Just use the buggy and get your shopping done and get out of there, right?
Yeah. So it's amazing. It takes all kinds for the world to go around, but we could go without a few of these all kinds.
I
So,
agree.
all right, Fitz, please tell us how everybody can get a hold of you and go from there.
So my home base is always fitzness.com. That's FITZNESS.com. Social media, I'm at Fitzness on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. I not only would love people to follow, but interact, say, I saw you on the Professor of Perseverance podcast, and I'd love to say hi. And then that book of mine, My Noisy Cancer Comeback, is available in all formats. So hardcover, paperback, audiobook, and ebook. It's being sold everywhere, wherever books are sold. However, I love it when people buy the paper copies on fitzness.com. I sign every last one of them, and they come with a gift with purchase. And the gift with purchase is really fun. It's a sticker. It was my mantra because I was always kind of scared and stressed. And so I kept having to tell myself, you can do hard things. You can do this. You can do this. And so the gift with purchase is this super fun sticker that says, I can do hard things. And people are putting it on the back of their phone, their laptop, their steering wheel, wherever they need a reminder. So I appreciate everybody listening. And, whether you or someone you love is going through cancer or anything else, reminder that, good attitude, perspective will go a long way. And prepare your body to do battle to begin with. You know, your health matters. Don't wait until you're ill or injured to start focusing on your health. Take care of it today, and hopefully that'll help you recover, rebound, and rehabilitate far quickly had you not.
And if all fails, just do the big Google, Fitz Koehler, and that's Koehler. And I'll have this information in the description as well. And so for everyone to find you, go to fitness, FITZNESS.com. And that way, again, order the book, get a signed copy of it. And then when she gets even bigger and more famous, I mean, she's already famous, but gets bigger and more famous, then you can sell it on eBay and get you some money back. So
that's right.
make some money. So, all right. Fitz, thank you for being on here. I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure someone struggling today is going to be able to use this. Again, for people that are coming in on the replay, again, share this out to someone you know it's hurting, struggling, need some help, need some confidence, need a self-esteem booster. Again, you don't have to be a quadriplegic like me. You don't have to be going through breast cancer, but the message is still the same. It's out there to help everyone. So, Fitz, again, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Professor. Talk soon.
And hi, Pat and Miss Southern Belle. Thank you for coming in today. Everyone else, do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your paralysis.